Pax Christi is a community of disciples who commit themselves to peace.
Pax Christi means literally the peace of Christ. It's a Catholic organization that has different levels. There's Pax Christi International, there's Pax Christi USA, and under Pax Christi USA there are several state chapters, and there are also local Pax Christi groups within the states.
We have regular assemblies every year with different topics that are decided usually by the board or from hearing from people who are interested in a particular issue. Most recently, we've had programs on gun violence, on the death penalty, on climate change, and also the abolition of nuclear weapons.
We are a biblical people. We are sacramental people, not only living the 7 sacraments, but actually in our daily living being signs of God's nonviolent kingdom. And we're also concerned about social justice.
We don't counter violence with violence. If violence worked, we wouldn't have it anymore. So it doesn't work. And so we want to continue to do ways that sort of seek to redress those errors.
Too often, when we see an injustice, if there's no prayer or study involved, there's a reaction. And very often that reaction is violent. Pax Christi itself was born out of situations of violence. In 1945, there were a group of French Catholics led by a laywoman who prayed for peace and reconciliation. Their concern was they realized they were French Catholics and German Catholics who were baptized in the same baptism, who shared in the same Eucharist, who were fighting against each other and killing millions of brothers and sisters. And this was not the way of Jesus. Pax Christi was born here in the United States in 1972 as part of the anti-war movement against the Vietnam War, as well as against the nuclear proliferation and the arms race.
What makes Pax Christi different is that we believe that we need to find creative ways of following Jesus' original teachings of nonviolent love of friends and enemies. A lot of people confuse nonviolence with passivity. Jesus was never passive in the face of evil. In fact, his whole life and what he did and what he said was to find creative ways of confronting evil in courageous ways so that we can maybe convert the oppressor, but we never seek to harm the oppressor. We don't return violence with violence.
Before I came here to Massachusetts, I was working in Washington as actually the director of an advocacy office for Africa. I knew of Pax Christi. I took part in some of the things that were happening in Washington with the Pax Christi group there, but I didn't join. I was kind of busy with my work. But when I came here to Massachusetts, I really longed for a community of committed folk who wanted to really work for peace in very committed and intentional ways. So I found a group here in Framingham, the Metro West chapter, and I joined them. And it was delightful to meet some very dedicated people who, in their ordinary lives, committed themselves to peace in Central America back in the 80s, as well as taking care of the violence that was happening in Framingham. I was really struck. And I found that my experience in Africa as a missionary, particularly when I was working there during the war in the 90s, was a gift to them. Connecting the violence that youth are involved with here with the violence that child soldiers had in Sierra Leone. So it was really a mutual assistance. And again, it helped them meet a bigger world. So that's why I joined Pax Christi here in Massachusetts, and it's really assisted me a lot.
Nancy, we've served on the board for many years, but I really don't know your story. How did you end up getting into Pax Christi?
It was actually the late 90s. There was a neighboring parish where the pastor there was asking the Pax Christi group to not meet there anymore. So they kind of were getting kicked out, I guess. And they came to the parish that I belong to in Wayland, which is now Good Shepherd Parish, and our pastor was very welcoming. So they put a notice in the bulletin and said, we're going to be meeting, would you like to come? And I vaguely heard about Pax Christi in the past, and that's when I began and joined with this small group. And we're still not too big, but we're very happy to be a very welcoming parish at Good Shepherd and be able to offer all the programs that we have at Pax Christi.
So how did you get to the board then from the local?
It didn't take long because there were a few of the members of the group coming from the other parish were already on the state board.
Oh, okay.
So after a couple of years, then they saw somebody who wanted to participate, and they invited me, and it has been a wonderful experience. God of peace and justice, as we journey
through our 50th anniversary year, make us weavers of your peace that will only come through justice, taking up the threads of peacemakers who have gone before, adding our collective contributions with creativity, and making space for future generations to join this tapestry.
Keep us firmly rooted in your love, love that transcends time and space. Guide us with clarity of vision to study the past in order to learn from history and heal wounds that still hurt us.
Let us acknowledge your presence as we look to the future. Nourish our enthusiasm, help our dreams emerge, and enable hope to blossom.
Together,
we will learn from one another, amplify prophetic voices, and weave the work of peace, justice, mercy, and love that transforms. We ask all this through our brother Jesus, way of nonviolence, weaver of peace. Amen.